Hello and welcome to part 2 of restoring this Commodore 64C computer, which I've been calling From Mice to Nice, because a family of mice probably lived in this case in the past. Today I'll finish the cleaning and retrobriting and repair anything that's needed to make this Commodore work as good as new. If you haven't already subscribed, it'll encourage me. Please go ahead in the bottom right or up above and I'll get right into it. Picking up where we left off last time, the top row of keys were still a little bit yellow, and that's because during a lifetime of usage, sunlight had more direct view of those keys and caused more UV damage there. So the idea behind this sticky board is to allow me to focus and concentrate the hydrogen peroxide gel on that area and get good sunlight exposure during the chemical reversal today. And hopefully this will result in more even whitening. Ironically, the same thing that caused the damage over all of that time is going to help reverse it in just a few hours today. Still very ugly, but it might improve. Okay, now inside for a final rinsing, and then for some retrobriting. Before we dip into Retrobrite, I'm just going to remove the LED. Just pull back on one of the plastic tangs. It's out. And now for the rinse off. Wow, what a difference. So only the top half has been retrobrited, and look at the difference compared to the other half of the case. This one's going to have to get cleaned up tomorrow. Okay, the second round, we're going to coat the bottom half of the case. This is actually its first application, and we're going to go through a second round on the upper half of the case. Okay, I think it's grabbing now.
What kind of glue is that?
It's two-part epoxy. When you mix the two halves together, there's one is a base and one's a hardener, and the hardener starts curing the base, and it hardens very quickly. I'm just going to strengthen these that are not broken yet with a little glue. If you saw the first time I opened this case and what a mess I made of it, you need to see the proper way to open a case. Okay, with the case snap closed all the way around, you simply press in on the side of the bottom, and there's the repaired piece, and it just pops right out with very minimal pressure just from your hand. And again, the other one is right here. Just push in on the bottom. Okay, let's reassemble. Now I've already tested the fit and reassembled it once with thermal grease, so there's already some on these chips, and I see here that I didn't have quite enough. It's not good coverage, so I'm going to add just a little bit more there. Without overdoing it. Okay. And there's already thermal paste on the back of the heat sink. The longer screws seem to go in the back right and back left corners a little bit better than in other positions. So that's where I put the long ones just now. Okay. I think we're ready for the keyboard now. So that's another duty of the metal heatsink. It also has the built-in mechanical adapters to hold the keyboard in place. One thing that I haven't been able to check yet, or just haven't checked, is whether the keyboard works at all. Okay. LED lights. Alright. Very good. Okay. good test. Now back to the bench for a little bit of final assembly. As some final checks, I thought, why not try a little disk access and try out a game. This is a little game that my son and I have been working on together. It's been a bit since we've worked on it. I can't remember if this was the best working version or not. Hey. Yeah, so we're working on a Pong game, obviously. And yeah, it's actually not bouncing off the paddles at this moment, it's just bouncing off the walls. But, alright, let's see. We were in the middle of converting it from character graphics to sprite graphics, and that was just an intermediate stage we had it in there as we were making that conversion. Let's see if I can go back a few revisions. Leftover sprite there that get rid of that sprite. Pong 9. I think that was our latest working version of character graphics before we started converting it to sprites. Yeah, anyway, there we go. Maybe we can get back to this programming at some point. The clarity of the graphics is pretty good with this Commodore. I wonder if that's the case with all of the 64Cs, this later version. Commodore clean up a lot of its earlier graphics problems by this point. This is pretty good. I think that's the clearest I've seen the display right out of the box. Alright. So as a final touch on the case, I went ahead and repaired the loosened label. What I did is I used a razor blade to cut underneath and carefully remove any remaining epoxy or glue that was used, and then I cleaned both halves with some Goo Gone. I let it sit for about 10 minutes and the goo loosened. It wiped right off. Then I cleaned off the Goo Gone with Windex and some isopropyl alcohol. And for gluing it back, this time I experimented with contact adhesive, and it worked really well. Contact adhesive works a little differently than other glues. You actually apply it to the halves and let them dry separately. And then it probably took about 10 minutes because I put a very thin layer on. And with contact adhesive, the moment you apply the two pieces together, the adhesive will bond. I just held it in place for maybe 10 seconds and it held just fine. It's been a couple of days now, and there's been no loosening. You can pull and it does not peel up. With all the repairs completed, you can see the finished product. It's looking quite good. The two broken keys, or the missing springs, have been replaced and repaired. The label has been glued back with contact adhesive. Of course, the broken tabs that were my own doing have been fixed over here on this end. And you can see a little bit of the painted metal pieces. You can see the shiny parts here that you can't see a lot of it, but some of that work is paying off there. And just much cleaner inside and out. The cartridge port no longer has any dust. Connectors are clean. Almost all of that yellowing is gone. It's at least usable now. Anyone, I think, would enjoy using one that's this clean and brightened. And that's it. All right, the final test for this Commodore is going to be performed by a special guest, my son, who's going to come on in here. We've been working together on a little basic program. He's in 3rd grade, and they've been working on their multiplication and division. So we found that writing this program helped us learn about basic, and it's helping him with his math.
So how it works, it shows a multiplication problem. In this case, it's 2 times 0, and that's 0. So when you hit enter, it fires off like 3 cannons. And then once you've answered the question, it pops up another one. And if you get it wrong, it has a baby crying sound.
The pressure's on. You're on camera.
And then after 12 questions go by, it stops, and you can do it again if you do one.
If you enjoyed that video, let me know in the comments, and I'll go ahead and release a second video that's also already in edit, and that's of the 1541 Model 2 disk drive that came with this computer and the power supply for that disk drive. So thanks for watching the video, and let me know your thoughts. Thank you.